I'm standing in my kitchen at 2 in the afternoon on a random Tuesday, staring at the security camera footage on my phone, watching my husband kiss another woman. Not just any woman, the woman who's been sleeping in our guest room for the past 2 years. The woman I made coffee for this morning. The woman whose Netflix profile is sandwiched between mine and his on our TV. The woman I helped move furniture last month because I thought we were friends. How did I not see it? How did I cook dinner for the 2 people having an affair under my own roof? How is it possible that I was the only one in my house who didn't know my marriage was over? I need you to understand something. I'm not stupid. I have a master's degree. I'm a senior marketing manager at a tech company. I have friends. I have family. I'm the person people come to for advice. And somehow, I spent 2 years living with my husband's girlfriend and thought she was just our roommate. But to understand how I ended up here, watching this footage with my whole world crashing down, we need to go back 2 years. Back to the day I made the biggest mistake of my life and said yes when my husband asked if his friend needed a place to stay for a few months. And the worst part? She was living in my house the entire time. It was March 2023. My husband Jake and I had been married for 4 years, together for 7. We lived in a 3-bedroom craftsman house in Northeast Portland, Oregon. You know, one of those places with the open concept kitchen that looks directly into the living room, hardwood floors throughout, and a yard we kept saying we'd do something with but never did. We'd bought it 2 years into our marriage when we were still in that phase where everything felt possible. Jake worked in software sales for a startup downtown, and I was managing social media campaigns for a marketing agency. We were comfortable. Not rich, but comfortable. We'd go to McMinimans on Friday nights, do brunch at Screen Door on Sundays, take our annual vacation to Bend. Normal Portland couple stuff. The spare bedroom had been sitting empty since we'd given up on the idea of turning it into a home gym. We should rent it out, Jake had mentioned a few times. Extra income, you know? I always said no. I liked our privacy. I liked coming home and having it just be us. Then one evening in early March, Jake came home from work with this energy. That's the only way I can describe it. He was excited in a way I hadn't seen in months. "So, you know Riley from my networking group?" he said, dropping his laptop bag by the door. I vaguely remembered the name. The woman who was switching careers or something? Yeah, so she just got laid off from her marketing position, and her roommates are forcing her out because they need to downsize to a 1-bedroom. He grabbed a LaCroix from the fridge. She's basically looking at moving back to Spokane with her parents. I was loading the dishwasher, only half paying attention. That sucks. He was thinking. He paused. What if she stayed in our guest room? Just temporarily, like 3 months, tops, while she gets back on her feet. She'd pay rent, obviously. Maybe like $800 a month? That would cover our HOA fees and then some. I turned to look at him. You want a stranger to move into our house? He's not a stranger, babe. I've known her for like 6 months through the networking group. She's super chill, really independent. You'd barely notice she was here. He came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist. Plus, think about it. Extra $800 a month, we could finally redo the bathroom or save for that trip to Japan you've been talking about. Red flag number 1. I didn't catch it then, but looking back, he'd never been this enthusiastic about anything involving our house before. Not when I suggested we paint the bedroom, not when I wanted to replace the couch, but suddenly he's excited about having a roommate? I don't know, Jake. I like our privacy. It's 3 months, Em. And honestly, she's so busy with job hunting and freelance gigs, we probably won't even see her much. She'd basically just be sleeping here. I should have trusted my gut. I should have said no. But Jake had this way of making me feel like I was being unreasonable when I hesitated about things. Like I was the uptight one who couldn't be spontaneous or helpful. Can I at least meet her first? His face lit up. Absolutely, I'll set something up. You're gonna love her, Em, I promise. Little did I know that promise was the first of many lies. We met Riley for coffee that Saturday at the Starbucks on Hawthorne. I remember it was raining, because of course it was, it's Portland in March, and I was already anxious. I'd spent the morning cleaning the house like she was moving in that day, even though we were just meeting her. She walked in 15 minutes late, and my first thought was, she's really pretty. Not like model pretty, but that effortless pretty that some women just have. Long dark hair and a messy bun, minimal makeup, wearing black jeans and an oversized olive green sweater. She had this energy about her that was, I don't know how to describe it. Warm? Magnetic? Oh my God, I'm so sorry I'm late. She gave us both this huge smile as she slid into the booth next to Jake. Across from me, not next to me. Red flag number 2. The bus was running behind and then I couldn't find parking. No worries, Jake said, already smiling wider than I'd seen in weeks. Riley, this is my wife Emma. Em, this is Riley. It's so nice to meet you. She reached across the table to shake my hand. Her grip was firm, friendly. Jake has told me so much about you. You're in marketing too, right? We talked for an hour. Riley was likable. That's the thing that kills me now. She wasn't some obvious homewrecker stereotype. She was funny and self-deprecating. She told stories about her disastrous job interviews, her crazy roommates, her attempts to learn how to cook that always ended in smoke alarms. She asked about my work, seemed genuinely interested in my life. And Jake couldn't stop looking at her. At the time, I thought he was just being friendly, being engaged in the conversation. But there was something in the way he leaned toward her when she talked, the way he laughed at everything she said. So, about the room situation, Riley said, stirring her third iced oat milk latte. I want to be super upfront with you both. I'm not looking for anything long-term. 3 months, maybe 4 at the most, just until I land something solid and can afford to get my own place again. I'm clean, I'm quiet, and I'm gone most of the time anyway, with interviews and freelance meetings. What kind of freelance work do you do? I asked. Graphic design, mostly, some social media consulting. It's not steady yet, but I'm building it up. She looked directly at me. I really appreciate you guys even considering this. I know having a roommate is a big deal, especially for a married couple. The last thing I want is to intrude on your space. Red flag number 3. She knew exactly what to say. Every concern I might have had, she addressed before I could even voice it, almost like she'd rehearsed it. We're happy to help, Jake said quickly, too quickly. Everyone needs a hand sometimes, right? I looked at my husband, at his eager expression, at the way he was already acting like it was decided, and then at Riley with her apologetic smile and her sob story about moving back to Spokane. Okay, I heard myself say. 3 months. We can do 3 months. Riley's face broke into this huge, relieved smile. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much this means to me. I promise I'll be the best roommate ever. Jake squeezed my hand under the table, and I thought he was thanking me. Now I know he was celebrating. Riley moved in 2 weeks later on a rainy Sunday in March. She didn't have much, just a carload of boxes, a suitcase, and a bike. Jake took the day off work to help her move in, which at the time I thought was sweet. I was working on a big campaign launch, so I was in and out, mostly letting them handle it. When I came home that evening, tired and ready to collapse, I found them in the kitchen. Jake was showing Riley where everything was, the good wine glasses on the top shelf, how the temperamental garbage disposal worked, where we kept the extra paper towels. She was laughing at something he said, her hand briefly touching his arm. Hey, Riley turned when she heard me come in. Your husband has been amazing. I'm all moved in. 1 order pizza? My treat, to say thank you. We ordered from Sizzle Pie and ate together on our couch. Our couch that was now, apparently, communal. Riley insisted on paying, pulled out her card before either of us could protest. She was chatty, asking us about our favorite spots in the neighborhood, our jobs, how we met. We actually met on Bumble, Jake said, his arm around my shoulders. Emma's profile said she was into hiking and craft beer, and I was like, she's perfect or lying? I was not lying, I laughed. I'd been on like 3 hikes that year, but still. Which 3 hikes count as into hiking? Riley teased, and we all laughed. It felt normal, nice even, like having a friend over, not a stranger invading our space. That night, after Riley had gone to her room, our guest room, but I was already starting to think of it as Riley's room, Jake pulled me close in bed. See, this is gonna be great. She's awesome, right? Yeah, I admitted. She seems really sweet. 3 months will fly by, he said, kissing my forehead. And hey, now you have another woman in the house. You always said you wished you had more girlfriends in Portland. He fell asleep quickly, but I lay there for a while, listening to the sounds of our house. The heater clicking on, the refrigerator humming, and from down the hall, the faint sound of Riley moving around in her room. If I had known what I'd find in that room 2 years later, I would have kicked her out that night. The first month was fine. Better than fine, actually. Riley was, as promised, barely there. She'd be gone before I woke up most mornings, coming back late in the evening. When she was home, she was friendly, but not intrusive. She'd knock before entering common areas, always cleaned up after herself, and Venmo'd Jake her rent on the first of every month without us having to ask. See, Jake would say, I told you this would be easy money. And it was, for about 6 weeks. Then things started to shift. Small things at first. Things I didn't even register as strange until much, much later. Riley started being home more. She'd be in the kitchen when I got home from work cooking dinner. I made extra if you want some, she'd call out, and it felt rude to say no. So I'd sit at our kitchen island, watching her move around my kitchen like she belonged there, telling me about her day. Jake would come home and his whole face would light up. Riley, you're cooking? What are we having? We. He said we like it was the 3 of us now. One unit. Then there were the movie nights. It started innocently enough. Riley mentioned she'd never seen The Princess Bride, and Jake acted personally offended. That's it, we're watching it tonight. Emma, you in? Of course I was in. It's my house, my living room, my husband. But somehow, by the end of the movie, I was in the armchair while Jake and Riley were on the couch, sharing the blanket I'd gotten Jake for Christmas. Are you cold, Em? Riley had asked. We can share the blanket. I'm fine, I'd said, wondering why I felt like the guest in my own home. The movie nights became a thing. Every Friday, sometimes Wednesdays too, we'd rotate who picked, make popcorn, order takeout. Riley always sat next to Jake on the couch. I told myself I was being ridiculous for noticing. We were all adults. We were all friends. Except they were becoming better friends with each other than I was with either of them. By month 2, Riley had somehow become part of our daily routine. She knew Jake took his coffee black with exactly 1 sugar. She'd have it ready for him before he came downstairs. It's the least I can do, she'd say when I mentioned she didn't have to. But I was his wife. Making his coffee was my thing. It sounds petty, I know, but it was one of our small rituals. I'd make coffee, he'd make breakfast on weekends. These tiny things that make up a marriage. Now Riley was making his coffee, and Jake didn't even notice the shift. I started paying attention to other things. The way she'd laugh at his jokes, really laugh. Not the polite chuckle I'd been giving him lately, because honestly, I'd heard them all before. The way she'd touch his arm when she talked to him. The way he'd explain things to her with this patience he never showed me anymore. You're home early, I said one afternoon, coming back from a client meeting to find them both in the living room watching some Netflix show I'd never heard of. Yeah, slow day, Jake said, barely glancing up. Riley showed me this documentary about that scam festival, Firefest. It's insane. We literally watched that together when it came out. Did we? He looked genuinely confused. I don't remember. But he'd watched it again with Riley, and he remembered that. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't happen all at once. It's not like in the movies where you catch them in bed and it's this clear, definitive moment. It's 1,000 small cuts, 1,000 tiny moments where you think, that's weird, but then you talk yourself out of it because you don't want to be the jealous wife, the insecure woman, the person who can't handle their husband having a friend. Month 3 came and went. Riley's temporary stay had reached its expiration date, but nobody mentioned her leaving. Not Jake, not Riley, definitely not me because I didn't want to be the bad guy who kicked out the struggling woman. She'd gotten a few freelance gigs, but nothing full-time yet. The market is brutal right now, she'd sigh over dinner, the dinners that had somehow become a nightly thing with all of us. I had a 3rd interview with this agency and they went with an internal candidate. Like, why waste my time? You'll find something, Jake would assure her. You're talented. These companies are idiots for not seeing it. I'd offer support too, but my words always felt hollow next to his. One night in June, I came home late from drinks with my friend Melissa. We'd been roommates in college and she knew me better than almost anyone. We were at Santeria, this Mexican restaurant on Northeast Alberta, splitting nachos and catching up. I'd been venting about work, about stress, about everything, except what was actually bothering me. So, how's the roommate situation? Jess asked, taking a sip of her margarita. Is she still there? Yeah, she's still there. Jess raised an eyebrow. That was a loaded yeah. It's fine. She's fine. It's just... What? I stirred my drink, not sure how to put it into words. Do you think it's weird that my husband is really good friends with our female roommate? Define really good friends. Like, they watch movies together, cook together, have inside jokes. She knows his coffee order. They text throughout the day. Okay, Jess, set down her drink. Emma, are you hearing yourself right now? What? Your husband has a whole relationship with another woman who lives in your house. It's not like that. They're just friends. Emma, she reached across the table, grabbed my hand. Hun, I'm going to say this because I love you. That's not normal. That's not what just friends looks like. You don't understand. Riley's really nice. She's not trying to. How do you know what she's trying to do? How do you know what he's trying to do? Because he's my husband. Because they're not like that. But even as I said it, I felt the doubt creeping in. The little voice that had been getting louder for months. Have you talked to him about it? Jess asked. Yeah, he acts like I'm being jealous and paranoid. Gaslighting much? Jess shook her head. Look, I'm not saying they're hooking up, but I am saying this doesn't sound healthy. You should trust your gut. I didn't trust my gut. I trusted my husband, and that was my mistake.
Month 10, November 2023. Riley had been living with us for 8 months, 5 months past her temporary deadline. I'd stopped asking when she was leaving because every time I brought it up, Jake made me feel like a villain. But I couldn't ignore the signs anymore. I came home one afternoon, I'd left work early with a migraine, and found them in the kitchen. Nothing scandalous. They were just talking, but Jake was leaning against the counter and Riley was sitting on the stool, and there was this charge in the air, this energy that evaporated the second I walked in. Em, you're home early. Jake straightened up. Everything okay? Migraine, I'm going to lie down. Want me to bring you some water? Advil? Riley offered. I'm fine, I said, sharper than I meant to. I went to our bedroom and shut the door. Lay in the dark, trying to make sense of what I just felt. Was I imagining it? Was I creating drama where there was none because I was tired and stressed and in pain? Through the door, I could hear them talking, low voices. Then Riley's laugh, soft and familiar. I pulled up my phone and scrolled through Instagram. Riley had posted a story, a photo of our kitchen, a homemade dinner she'd made. Grateful for these two. the caption said, with a heart emoji. I clicked over to Jake's Instagram. He'd commented on her post, "Best roomie ever, #. Roomie, like she was his friend, not ours. Like this was his house, not ours. I scrolled back through their comment history, weeks of back and forth, little jokes I wasn't part of, references to things they'd done together. When had I become the outsider in my own marriage? The worst part was how much everyone else could see it but me. Or maybe I could see it, but I was in denial. Because if I admitted what was happening, I'd have to do something about it. My mom came to visit in December. She stayed for 3 days, and by day 2, she pulled me aside. "Emma, honey, what's going on with that girl?" "Riley? Nothing, she's just staying with us. She's very comfortable here." "What do you mean?" My mom gave me that look. The mom looked at says, "You know exactly what I mean." "She's wearing Jake's Stanford sweatshirt, the one Grandma got him. He probably lent it to her. She answered the door when I got here, like it was her house." "Mom, she lives here." "Emma." My mom sat down, patted the couch next to her. "I'm not trying to start something, but from the outside looking in, that girl acts more like Jake's wife than his roommate. And you," she touched my face gently, "you seem sad, baby. You seem like you're disappearing." I felt tears prick my eyes but pushed them back. "I'm fine. Everything's fine." "If you say so, but if you ever need to talk, really talk, I'm here." I didn't really talk. I stayed quiet, stayed in denial, stayed in the slow-motion disaster my life had become. Little did I know, I was less than 2 months away from discovering just how bad things really were. January 2024, year 2 of Riley living with us. I'd stopped calling her our temporary roommate, even in my head. She was just there, part of the furniture, part of our life. But something shifted in me that new year. Maybe it was the fresh start energy. Maybe it was my mom's words still echoing in my head. Maybe it was just exhaustion from pretending everything was fine. I started paying attention, really paying attention. And once I started looking, I couldn't unsee it. It began with small things, the laundry, for instance. I was folding clothes one Saturday morning, and I found one of Jake's t-shirts in with Riley's laundry. Not like it had gotten mixed up in the wash. It was in her basket, the one she'd left in the living room. "Hey, this is Jake's," I said, holding it up when she came into the kitchen. "Oh yeah, he lent it to me when I spilled coffee on my shirt the other day." She said it so casually, taking it from me. "I was going to wash it and give it back. Want some coffee?" She lent him shirts? He lent her shirts? In what world was that normal? Then there were the schedules. Riley had told us she was working full-time freelance from home, which explained why she was always there. But one day, I came home for lunch, something I never did, and the house was empty. Riley's car was in the driveway, but she wasn't home. When she came back an hour later, I was in the kitchen. "Oh, hey," she looked startled. "You're home." "Lunch break. Where were you?" "Just running errands. Target run." She didn't have any Target bags. I didn't say anything, just filed it away. 2 days later, I came home early again. Riley's car was in the driveway. Jake's car was in the driveway, which was weird because he was supposed to be at work until 6. I walked in the house and it was silent. Too silent. "Hello?" I called out. Footsteps upstairs. Then Jake appeared at the top of the stairs, slightly out of breath. "Em, hey, didn't expect you home yet." "Why are you here? I thought you had meetings all afternoon." "Got canceled. Came home to catch up on emails." He came down the stairs. "Everything okay?" "Where's Riley?" I don't know, her room probably. Why? Her car's here. So? She's home a lot. Something felt off. The energy in the house felt wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on what exactly. I'm going to change, I said, heading upstairs. As I passed the guest room, Riley's room, I heard movement inside. She was in there, had been in there the whole time, while Jake was supposedly working from home? Would you have thought something was wrong? Would you have said something? I didn't. Not yet. The real detective mode activated because of a receipt. I was cleaning out Jake's car one Saturday. He'd asked me to grab his gym bag from the back seat, and I found a crumpled receipt from Olive Garden. It was for a Tuesday night, 3 weeks ago. I remembered that Tuesday. Jake had said he was working late. He'd come home around 9, said he'd grab something from the food trucks downtown. But this receipt was for 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine, 1 dessert to share. I sat in the driver's seat of his Subaru, staring at that receipt, my heart starting to pound. There could be a million explanations. A work dinner, a client meeting, a friend visiting. But he'd lied about where he was, and that meant something. I took a photo of the receipt and put it back exactly where I found it. That night at dinner, the 3 of us, as usual, at our dining table, I watched them, really watched them. The way Riley knew to pass Jake the salt before he asked for it, the way he automatically served her first when he dished up the pasta, the way their hands almost touched when they both reached for the bread basket, and how they both pulled back quickly, almost guilty. The way they looked at each other when they thought I wasn't looking. "How was work, Em?" Riley asked, and I realized I'd been staring. "Fine, busy." I took a sip of water. "Jake, how was your day?" Same old, lots of meetings." "Any good food from the trucks lately?" He looked at me, and just for a second, something flickered in his eyes. "What?" "The food trucks. You've been working late a lot. I figured you've been trying new places." "Oh, yeah, the usual spots, mostly." He was lying. I could see it in the way he couldn't quite meet my eyes. Riley changed the subject, too smoothly, too quickly, and we moved on. But I'd seen what I needed to see. I started checking things. I hate that I became this person, but I couldn't not know anymore. I needed to know if I was crazy or if my world was actually falling apart. I looked through our phone bill online. Jake and Riley texted constantly, hundreds of messages a day, more than he texted me. I checked the location history on Jake's phone. He had it shared with me for safety, never changed it. There were gaps. Times when he said he was at work, but the phone was somewhere else. Times when his location and Riley's location were the same place. I looked at our credit card statements. Dinners I didn't attend, movie tickets purchased in pairs, a Nordstrom charge for $200 that I never saw show up as a gift for me. Every piece of evidence was small on its own, circumstantial. But together it painted a picture I couldn't ignore anymore. The breaking point came on a Thursday in late January. I was supposed to be at a conference in Seattle overnight. I'd mentioned it weeks ago, had the calendar invite up in our shared Google Calendar, but the day of, the conference got canceled. Venue issue. They'd rescheduled for next month. I didn't tell Jake. Some instinct stopped me from calling him. I came home at 4 p.m, both cars in the driveway. I sat in my car for a moment, staring at our house, my heart hammering. "This is ridiculous," I told myself. "You're being paranoid. You're going to walk in and they'll be in separate rooms doing separate things, and you'll feel stupid." I walked in the front door quietly, and I heard them upstairs. Not sex sounds, just talking, in our bedroom. Riley's voice saying something I couldn't make out, then Jake laughing, that intimate laugh, the one that used to be just for me. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, frozen.
They came down a minute later, fully dressed, nothing incriminating, and both stopped dead when they saw me. "Emma!" Jake's face went pale. "What are you doing home?" "Conference got canceled. What are you doing home?" "Half day, came home early." "And you're in our bedroom because—" "I was showing Riley the master closet layout. She was asking about storage solutions for her room." Riley nodded, but her face was flushed. "Yeah, I was complaining about not having enough space, and Jake thought—" "You were giving her a tour of our bedroom closet." I looked between them. "That's what you're telling me?" "Em, why are you being weird about this?" Jake's defense mechanism? Make me the problem. "I'm not being weird. I'm trying to understand why my husband is alone in our bedroom with another woman in the middle of the day." "Oh my God, nothing was happening." Riley's voice was rising. "We were literally just looking at closet organization. I'm sorry if that's somehow inappropriate." She grabbed her jacket from the coat hook. "I'm going out. I'll be back late." She left, and Jake and I stood there in the silence. "You're being paranoid," he said finally. "Am I?" "Yes, Riley is our friend, our roommate. You're acting jealous and insecure, and honestly, it's not a good look." Every instinct screamed at me to push, to demand answers, to make him admit what I knew was happening. But I didn't have proof. Just suspicions. Just feelings. Just that gut instinct that everyone tells you to trust, but you can't quite convince yourself is enough. "Fine," I said quietly. "I'm being paranoid." But that night, lying in bed next to Jake while he slept, I made a decision. If something was going on, I was going to find out. And I was going to get proof. I told Jake I had another Seattle conference, February 14th, Valentine's Day, ironically. 3-day work trip, I said. I'd be gone Thursday through Saturday. "On Valentine's Day?" He looked up from his phone. "That sucks." "I know. We'll celebrate when I get back." He barely seemed disappointed. That should have been my first clue. I booked a hotel, the Hilton downtown Seattle, got the confirmation email, made sure it showed up in our shared email if he checked. I told my boss I was taking a personal day Friday, told my coworkers I'd be out. I covered every base. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. Something that makes me feel sick even now. I bought a hidden camera on Amazon, one of those little ones that looks like a phone charger. I set it up in the living room, angled towards the couch. I set another one up in the upstairs hallway facing our bedroom door. I tested them on my phone. Perfect view, motion-activated recording, sends notifications to my phone. "Okay," I told my reflection in the bathroom mirror Thursday morning. "You're either about to feel really stupid or your life is about to change forever." I packed my bag, kissed Jake goodbye. He was still in bed, barely conscious. "Have a safe trip," he mumbled. "I love you." He didn't say it back, just rolled over. I drove to a hotel near PDX Airport, close enough to get home quickly if needed, far enough that I wouldn't risk being spotted, checked in under my name, and sat on the bed staring at my phone, waiting. The first notification came at 10:47 a.m. Motion detected in the living room. My hands were shaking as I opened the app. The video loaded slowly, painfully slowly, and then there they were, Jake and Riley, on the couch, just sitting there, talking, nothing incriminating. He was in his work clothes, she was in leggings and a sweatshirt. Normal. I watched for 5 minutes. They were just talking, laughing. At one point, she put her hand on his knee, but it could have been friendly. It could have been innocent. "You're being paranoid," I told myself again. "This is going to be nothing." But I couldn't look away. 12:15 p.m. Another notification. This time they were in the kitchen. Riley was cooking something and Jake was helping her. He had his hand on her waist as he reached around her for something on the counter. She leaned back into him. Just for a second, but it was there. My stomach dropped. I kept watching, kept getting notifications. Every time they moved through the house, every time they were in range of the cameras. 2:30 p.m., living room again. They were watching a movie, some romantic comedy, I think. I wasn't paying attention to the TV. I was watching them. Riley's head on Jake's shoulder, his arm around her hand resting on his chest. This wasn't friendly. This wasn't roommate behavior. I wanted to throw up, but I kept watching because I needed to see. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. 4:47 p.m., upstairs hallway. They went into our bedroom. Together. The door closed behind them. The camera couldn't see inside, but I didn't need to. They were in our bedroom on what I had told him would be our Valentine's Day. Together. I sat on that hotel bed, staring at the closed door on my phone screen, and I felt something inside me break. Not like in the movies, not dramatic. Just this quiet, devastating crack, like ice breaking on a frozen lake. 43 minutes passed. I counted every single one of them. When the door finally opened, Riley came out first. Her hair was messier. She was wearing different clothes, one of Jake's t-shirts and her leggings. Jake followed a minute later, also changed. Sweatpants instead of work clothes. They went downstairs. The living room camera caught them curling up on the couch again. Easy, comfortable, like they'd done this 1,000 times before. Because they had. I realized, watching them, that they had absolutely done this 1,000 times before. I should have gone home right then. Should have burst through the door and confronted them both. But I couldn't move. I was paralyzed, watching my husband live this whole other life in my house while thinking I was 3 hours away. 6:30 p.m., Riley started cooking dinner. Jake helped. They moved around the kitchen like choreographed dancers, handing each other things without asking, finishing each other's sentences. 7 years I'd been with Jake. We didn't move like that in our own kitchen. 7:15 p.m., they ate dinner together at our dining table. The table I'd picked out from West Elm, that Jake had complained about assembling for 3 hours. They were sitting next to each other, not across, close enough that their shoulders touched. Riley said something that made Jake laugh, that real laugh, the one I hadn't heard in months. He reached over and tucked her hair behind her ear. That's when I started crying. Just silent tears running down my face in the sterile hotel room, watching my husband fall in love with someone else on my phone screen. 9 p.m. They were on the couch watching another movie. I recognized it. The Notebook. Jake hated The Notebook. He'd refused to watch it with me 12 times, said it was manipulative garbage. But he was watching it with her, and he didn't look like he hated it. Riley was practically lying on top of him. His arms were wrapped around her, and then he kissed the top of her head, soft, gentle, intimate. Like he was his. I took a screenshot, then another and another. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. 11:34 p.m., they were still on the couch, but the movie was over. Just sitting there in the dark. The TV showing the Netflix menu screen. Talking quietly. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see their faces. The way he looked at her, God. The way he looked at her was how he used to look at me back when we first started dating. Like she was the most interesting person in the world. Like he couldn't believe his luck. When had he stopped looking at me that way? 11:58 p.m. Riley stood up, stretched, said something to Jake. He nodded. She headed upstairs. To her room. Not to our bedroom. Jake stayed on the couch for a while, scrolling on his phone. Then he got up, turned off the lights, and went upstairs too, to our bedroom, alone. I sat there in the dark hotel room, my face wet with tears, trying to process what I just witnessed. He hadn't slept with her. Not today, at least, not that I had seen, but what I'd watched was somehow worse. Because it wasn't just physical, this was emotional. This was intimate. This was a whole relationship happening right in front of me. Had been happening right in front of me for God knows how long. I didn't sleep that night. I just watched the footage over and over, screenshotting everything, making sure it was backed up to the cloud, building my case like a prosecutor, because I was going to need evidence. He was going to deny it. They were both going to deny it, but I had proof now.
Friday. I was supposed to be in Seattle for another day. Instead, I was in my car at 6 a.m. driving toward my house. I'd spent the early morning hours making a plan. I couldn't just go home and scream at them. I needed more. I needed them to admit it. I needed to hear them say the words. So I did something else I never thought I'd do. I called a lawyer. Not to divorce, not yet, just to consult, to understand my options, what I'd need to prove, how to protect myself. If you have photo or video evidence of an affair, that helps in Oregon, the lawyer said over the phone, her voice calm and professional. Especially for asset division. Do you own property together? The house? We're both on the mortgage. And she pays you rent? While she pays him, it goes into our joint account. Interesting. So she's a tenant. That complicates eviction. She paused. Mrs. Foster, can I ask, are you sure you want to know everything? Some of my clients are happier not knowing all the details. I need to know. I need to know exactly what's been going on. Then I'd suggest recording the confrontation if it's legal in your state. Oregon is a two-party consent state, so you'd need them to know they're being recorded, but their admissions could be useful. I thanked her and hung up. Then I checked the cameras. Jake had left for work at 8:30. Riley was home alone. Perfect. I got home at 10 a.m. My car pulling into the driveway was definitely going to show up on the camera, but I didn't care anymore. I was done hiding. Riley's face when I walked in the door was priceless. Pure shock. Emma! Oh my God! I thought you were in Seattle until tomorrow. Conference got cut short. I lied smoothly. Is Jake here? No, he's at work. Do you want me to text you're home early? That's okay. I set my bag down, watching her. She was wearing my Stanford hoodie, the one I'd gotten at a work event. When had that become communal property? Actually, Riley, can we talk? Her expression shifted, guarded. Sure. About what? About you and Jake? How long has it been going on? What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone, opened the video from yesterday, turned it to face her. I have cameras, Riley. I've been watching. She stared at the screen at herself and Jake on the couch, his arm around her, her head on his shoulder. I watched her face go through the stages: shock, panic, calculation. That's not what it looks like. What does it look like? We're friends. That's how friends sit. Do you kiss your other friends? I scrolled to the timestamp where he kissed her head. Do your other friends hold you like this? You're taking this out of context. But her voice was shaking now. Then give me context, Riley. Explain to me why you and my husband act like a couple when I'm not here. We don't... Stop lying. My voice cracked. Just stop lying. I know. Okay? I know something's going on. I just need you to tell me what it is. She was quiet for a long moment, and I could see her deciding. Tell the truth or keep lying. Come clean or double down. She chose lying. Nothing is going on. You're seeing what you want to see because you're jealous. You've been jealous since I moved in. Jealous? I laughed, but it came out bitter. Yeah, Riley, I'm jealous. I'm jealous that my husband looks at you the way he used to look at me. I'm jealous that you two have this whole relationship that I'm not part of. I'm jealous that you live in my house and stole my husband. I didn't steal anything. She was getting defensive now, angry. If you paid more attention to him instead of working all the time, don't
I hold up my hand. Don't you dare make this my fault. I'm not making it your fault, but you can't just blame me because your marriage isn't working. My marriage was fine until you moved in. We were yelling now, both of us. 2 years of tension finally erupting. If your marriage was fine, he wouldn't have needed someone else. She shouted back. And there it was. The admission. Needed someone else. I repeated quietly. So you admit it. There is something going on. Riley's eyes went wide. She knew she'd slipped up. What did you mean, Riley? She was backing toward the door now, grabbing her purse. I need to leave. I need to talk to Jake. Yeah, I think we all need to talk to Jake. She left, peeled out of the driveway like the house was on fire. I stood in my kitchen, my heart racing, my hands shaking, and I called my husband. He answered on the third ring. Hey, babe, what's up? I'm home, I said. Silence. Then, I thought you weren't back until tomorrow. Change of plans. Riley just left. I think she's on her way to you. Why would she? What did you say to her? The truth, Jake, that I know. Know what? But his voice had changed. Guilty. Caught. Come home. We need to talk. All of us. Come home, Jake. Now. I hung up. They arrived together 45 minutes later. Of course they did. I was sitting at the dining table when they walked in. The same table where we'd eaten hundreds of dinners together. The three of us. Playing house. Playing normal. Jake looked terrified. Riley looked defiant. I felt weirdly calm, like I'd been holding my breath for 2 years, and finally, I could exhale. Sit down, I said. Let me explain, Jake started. Sit down. They sat. On the same side of the table, I noticed, united against me. I placed my phone on the table between us, the video still queued up. I want the truth, I said. All of it. And if you lie to me, if you gaslight me, if you try to tell me I'm crazy one more time, I'm walking out that door and the next conversation we have will be through lawyers. Do you understand? Jake's face went pale. Lawyers? Do you understand? He nodded. Riley was staring at the table. How long? I asked. Silence. How long? 2 months, Riley said quietly. Bullshit! I pulled up the credit card statements on my phone. There's a dinner from last November. That's 3 months ago, and I'm betting it started long before that. Jake's jaw clenched. 6 months. It's been 6 months. 6 months. 6 months of lying to my face. 6 months of them together while I slept down the hall. 6 months of me cooking dinner for them, doing their laundry, living in ignorant bliss. Did it start before or after she moved in? I asked, even though I was pretty sure I knew the answer. They looked at each other, some silent communication passing between them. Answer me! I slammed my hand on the table. Before, Jake admitted. It started before. The room spun. Before. It wasn't supposed to happen, he said quickly. We met at that networking thing and we just connected. We talked for hours and then we kept talking and it just what? Just turned into an affair? Just made you think it was a good idea to move your girlfriend into our house? I didn't know what else to do. He was getting emotional now. I couldn't end things with you. Why not? I demanded. If you wanted to be with her so badly, why not just divorce me? Why this elaborate charade? Because I didn't want to hurt you, and he actually looked like he believed it. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. Hysterical, bitter laughter. You didn't want to hurt me? Jate, you moved your mistress into our home. You let me cook for her. You let me befriend her. You let me feel crazy for 2 years while you two played house behind my back. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Make it make sense. He couldn't, because there was no way to make it make sense. I turned to Riley. And you, what kind of person does this? What kind of person moves into someone's home and sleeps with their husband? I never meant for this to happen, but there were no tears, no real remorse in her voice. Jake and I we have something special, a real connection. Oh, a real connection. Well, that makes it okay then. You don't understand what it's like between us. You're right, I don't. Because I'm a normal person who wouldn't sleep with someone's husband. But please, enlighten me. What's it like? She looked at Jake, then back at me. He makes me feel seen, appreciated, like I matter. In my house, I said. He made you feel special in my house, using my furniture, probably in my bed. Neither of them denied it. Oh my God, you've been in our bed. Jake reached for my hand, but I yanked it away. Don't touch me. Don't you ever touch me again. Please, let me explain. Explain what? That you've been fucking her in our bed while I was at work? That every time you told me you loved me, you were lying? That our entire marriage was a joke? Our marriage wasn't a joke. He do love you. Don't. I stood up, needing distance. Don't you dare tell me you love me. You don't cheat on someone you love. You don't humiliate someone you love. You don't move your affair partner into their home if you love them. When? I asked, my voice steadier now. When, Jake? Jake didn't answer. When, Jake? 3 weeks before she moved in, he finally said. I did the math. May. You slept with her in May, and then you asked me if she could move in June. He nodded miserably. So this whole thing, the sob story about her roommates needing a place to stay, it was all bullshit. No, Riley interjected. I really was having housing issues. But he offered you a room because you were already sleeping together. This was planned. Both of you planned this. The silence was answer enough. I sank back into my chair, trying to process it. They had conspired to bring her into my home. This wasn't some gradual thing, some slowly developing feelings. This was calculated, premeditated. Did you laugh at me? I asked quietly. When I was at work, when I was sleeping, did you two laugh about how clueless I was? No, no. We felt horrible. You felt horrible while you were getting exactly what you wanted? A wife to split bills with and a girlfriend to fuck? It wasn't about the money. Then what was it about? Because from where I'm sitting, you got a pretty sweet deal. I paid half the mortgage while your girlfriend paid rent. Did that rent money even go to house expenses, or did you just pocket it? Jake's face flushed. Guilty again. Oh my God, you pocketed it. You've been taking her rent money, rent I helped you set, and spending it on what? Dates with her? Some of it went to dates, but some went to the house. Get out. What? Get out of my house. I was shaking now, my voice rising. Both of you, get the fuck out of my house right now. This is my house too. You think I care about property law right now? You think I care about whose name is on the mortgage? Get out, or I'm calling the police and telling them you're trespassing. You can't do that. Watch me. I pulled out my phone, started dialing 911. Wait! Jake held up his hands. Okay, I'll leave. Riley, let's go. They stood up together, still a unit. How much? I asked as they headed for the door. What? How much of my life was a lie? Did you ever actually love me? Or was I always just the safe option, the backup plan? Jake turned back to me, and for a second, I saw something in his face. Maybe guilt, maybe regret, maybe nothing at all. I did love you, he said quietly. I still do in my own way. But Riley, what we have is different. It's intense and real and built on lies, I finished. Get out, Jake, and take your soulmate with you.
They left. I heard Jake's car start, heard them drive away, and then I was alone in the house that suddenly felt huge and empty and wrong. I walked through each room like a crime scene investigator, looking for evidence I'd missed. Evidence that was probably always there, but I was too trusting to see. In the guest room, Riley's room, I found a drawer full of Jake's clothes. His favorite worn-in jeans, his Seahawks jersey, his Stanford hoodie. She hadn't borrowed them. He'd given them to her, left them there for when he visited her room. In our bedroom, I found a receipt tucked in his nightstand, a hotel in Seattle, the Edgewater, from 4 months ago, the same weekend I'd gone to visit my mom in California. He'd said he was staying home, had a big project to work on, but he'd gone to Seattle with Riley, probably told her it was romantic, a getaway, using our joint credit card. I found texts on his iPad. He'd forgotten to delete them from the synced device. Months of conversations. Can't wait for tonight. Emma's working late. Come to the bedroom. I love you. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. He told her he loved her multiple times while telling me the same thing. I found photos on his laptop, the two of them at the coast, at Mount Hood, at places I recognized because I'd been there with him first. He was recycling our relationship with her. Same dates, same locations, same lines probably. And I found a ring box. Hidden in the back of his closet, behind his winter coats. A ring box with a diamond engagement ring inside. For a second, I thought it was mine. Maybe he'd kept my ring to have it cleaned or resized. But my ring was on my finger, and this one was different, bigger, nicer. He was going to propose to her, while still married to me. I sat on our bedroom floor, surrounded by evidence of his betrayal, holding this ring box, and I finally let myself fall apart. I'd been holding it together through the confrontation, through the discovery, through everything. But this broke me. He'd been planning a future with her, a real future. And I'd just been, what? The obstacle? The inconvenience? The soon-to-be ex-wife he hadn't gotten around to leaving yet? I don't know how long I sat there crying. Hours maybe, until my phone started ringing. My mom. I'd forgotten I was supposed to call her today. Hi, honey. Her cheerful voice felt surreal. How's Seattle? Are you having fun at the conference? Mom? And I said, and my voice cracked, Mom, I need you. Emma? Baby, what's wrong? And I told her everything. The cameras, the confrontation, the affair, the ring. She listened without interrupting, and when I finally finished, she said, I'm getting on a plane. I'll be there in 4 hours. Don't make any decisions until I get there, okay? Just breathe. Lock the doors. Don't let him back in. I'm coming. Okay, I whispered. Emma? Yeah? I'm so sorry, baby. But you're going to get through this. I promise you're going to get through this. I wanted to believe her, but sitting in that bedroom, surrounded by the ruins of my marriage, I couldn't imagine a future where I felt whole again. My mom arrived that night. She took one look at me and pulled me into a hug that made me start crying all over again. Okay, she said, all business once I'd calmed down. First things first, we're changing the locks. He doesn't get to come and go as he pleases anymore. Second, we're calling a lawyer. A real lawyer, not just a consultation. Third, we're documenting everything. Every piece of evidence, every conversation. He's not going to gaslight his way out of this. I don't even know where to start, I said. We start by making you safe. Physically, financially, emotionally. Everything else comes after. We changed the locks that night, called a 24-hour locksmith who probably charged us double, but I didn't care. Jake's key would no longer work. He called 14 times that evening. I didn't answer. Finally, he texted, "We need to talk about the house. I have a right to be there." My mom responded from my phone. "Hi, Jake. This is Emma's mother. Your attorney can contact Emma's attorney regarding property access. Until then, stay away." He didn't respond to that. Riley texted too. "I'm so sorry about how everything happened. I never meant to hurt you. I hope someday you can understand that what Jake and I have is real." I blocked her number without responding. Because what do you even say to that? The next few days were a blur of lawyer meetings, bank account separations, and crying jags. My divorce attorney was a woman named Patricia Chen, who'd been practicing family law for 20 years. "You have an excellent case," she told me at our first meeting. "Video evidence of the affair, financial impropriety with the rent money, documentation of lies. Oregon is a no-fault divorce state, but this all helps with asset division and spousal support." "I don't want his money," I said bluntly. "I just want him gone." "You should want his money," she said bluntly. "He had an affair in your marital home with a tenant, essentially defrauding you. The house will likely need to be sold and assets divided, but we can push for a favorable split." I signed the retainer agreement, filed for divorce. The papers were served to Jake at his office a week later. He called me immediately. "Really, Em? You couldn't even talk to me first?" "What's there to talk about? We could work this out. Go to counseling. I made a mistake, but..." "A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. A 2-year affair isn't a mistake, Jake. It's a choice. Multiple choices. Hundreds of choices to lie to me every single day. I never wanted this to happen like this." "How did you want it to happen? Were you just going to keep living this double life forever? Or were you going to propose to Riley and then tell me, 'Hey, honey, by the way, I'm engaged to our roommate. Hope that's cool'?" Silence. "You found the ring?" he said finally. "I found a lot of things. Did you think I wouldn't go through your stuff once I knew?" "What are you going to do with it?" "The ring? I'm selling it, putting the money toward my attorney fees. That's not yours to sell. You bought it with joint credit card money, Jake. Technically, it's half mine. Talk to your lawyer if you have a problem with it." I hung up on him. Riley moved out completely 2 weeks after the confrontation. She came by one afternoon when I was at work. I'd given my lawyer permission to schedule it. Didn't want to see her again. When I got home, her room was empty. She'd left the key on the kitchen counter with a note. "Emma, I know you hate me right now, and I understand why, but I need you to know that I never intended for any of this to hurt you. Jake and I tried to fight our feelings. We really did. But sometimes love just happens, and you can't control it. I hope someday you find someone who makes you feel the way Jake makes me feel. You deserve that. Riley." I crumpled up the note and threw it away, because how do you respond to someone who destroyed your life and then tells you it was because of love? My friend Jess came to stay with me for a week. "I hate that I was right," she said one night over wine. "I really, really hate it. You tried to warn me. You weren't ready to hear it. Nobody is, until they are. Did I miss signs? Like obvious ones? Am I stupid?" "You're not stupid. You trusted your husband. That's not stupidity. That's what marriage is supposed to be." She refilled my glass. "He's the villain here, Em, not you. And Riley too. They're the ones who did this." "Then why do I feel so stupid?" "Because that's what gaslighting does. He made you doubt yourself for so long that even now, even with video proof of his affair, you're questioning if you missed something obvious.
She grabbed my hand. "You didn't miss anything. He hid it. That's what cheaters do. They hide." The divorce took 8 months to finalize. 8 months of back and forth, of negotiations, of Jake trying to get out of paying what he owed. We sold the house, split the equity 60-40 in my favor after Patricia argued emotional damages and the financial fraud angle. Jake was furious, but his lawyer advised him to take it rather than risk a judge giving me more. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in Southeast Portland. Smaller, but it was mine. No ghosts, no memories of them together in every room. My friends rallied. My mom came to visit twice more. My work gave me flexibility when I needed it. I started therapy, EMDR specifically for the trauma of it all, because it was trauma. Even though I survived, even though I got out, even though I'm okay now, it was traumatic to discover that my entire life had been a lie, that the person I trusted most in the world had been betraying me in the worst way possible. Through mutual friends, I heard that Jake and Riley moved in together, got an apartment downtown. Apparently, they're still together, living the love story they built on my pain. Sometimes I wonder if she thinks about me, if she ever feels guilty when she's lying in bed with him, knowing that she used to sleep just down the hall from his wife. If it ever occurs to her that he could do the same thing to her that he did to me. Because he could. If he did it once, he can do it again. That's what my therapist says. People don't usually cheat just once. It's a pattern, a character flaw. She thinks she's special, that she's the exception, but she's probably just the next victim. I hope she's wrong. Not because I care about protecting Riley. I don't. But because I don't want Jake to have that power over anyone else. I don't want anyone to feel the way I felt, watching their world crumble in real time on a phone screen. It's been 10 months since everything exploded. I'm okay. Not great, not healed, but okay. I've been on a few dates, nothing serious yet. It's hard to trust people after someone you loved for 7 years turns out to be a completely different person than you thought. But I'm getting there, slowly. I redecorated my apartment exactly how I want it. No compromises, no joint decisions, just me and my taste and my space. I got a promotion at work. Turns out when you're not spending all your mental energy wondering why your husband is acting weird, you can actually focus on your career. I reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with during the marriage, the ones Jake really didn't like, and that I had slowly stopped seeing because it was easier than dealing with his complaints. I adopted a cat. Her name is Scout, and she's a terrible influence who knocks things off counters and yells at me for food. She's perfect. Some days are harder than others. Some days I still cry about what I lost. Not Jake, not really, but the future I thought I had, the life I was building, the person I thought I was married to. But most days, I'm just grateful I found out.
Because I could have gone on for years, living with them, trusting them, never knowing. And that somehow would have been worse. At least now I know the truth. So that's my story. That's how I lived with my husband's girlfriend for 2 years without knowing. That's how I went from a trusting wife to a divorced woman in less than a year. If you're watching this and something feels off in your relationship, trust that feeling. I ignored my gut for so long because I didn't want to be the jealous wife, the paranoid partner, the person who ruins a friendship over nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was never nothing. Here are the signs I missed that you shouldn't miss. Your partner is suddenly very invested in helping someone of the opposite sex. Not just friendly, invested. They spend more time with that person than with you. Text them more, laugh with them more, light up around them more. You feel like a third wheel in your own relationship or home. They gaslight you when you express concerns, make you feel crazy for noticing things.
Your friends and family see it before you do. Listen to them. You find financial discrepancies, unexplained charges, missing money. They're emotionally distant from you, but emotionally available to someone else. Trust your gut. Always trust your gut. I'm not telling you to be paranoid or to suspect everyone. I'm telling you to pay attention, to value yourself enough to ask questions when something feels wrong, to not accept you're being crazy as an answer. Because I accepted it. For 2 years I accepted it, and I lost 2 years of my life that I'll never get back. But I got out, and I'm rebuilding. And someday I'm gonna find someone who would never do this to me, someone who thinks I'm enough all on my own. If this story resonated with you, if you've been through something similar, drop a comment below. You're not alone. None of us are alone in this. And if you think that's bad, wait until you hear about what happened with my sister and her husband. But that's a story for another time. Thanks for listening. And remember, you deserve someone who chooses you every single day, not someone who makes you share them without your knowledge. Take care of yourselves out there and trust your gut. Always trust your gut.